Donald Trump's Bitcoin warning is going global. We've all been distracted lately, but 3 countries just quietly advanced their strategic Bitcoin reserve plans. A central bank in Asia is planning to dump their gold and buy $350 million of Bitcoin. Another hidden Bitcoin country instructed their government to have state-sanctioned Bitcoin mining. And Brazil, the largest country and economy in South America, just made an interesting move to attract more Bitcoiners to the country. And this comes weeks after they advance a strategic Bitcoin reserve bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin. Sounds a lot like what the U.S. is doing. So look, love or hate Donald Trump, he really kicked off the nation state Bitcoin race. And it did happen slowly, but it seems to have picked up. It seems to have actually started to catch on. Again, maybe a lot slower than a lot of us had wanted, had imagined, but there is movement around the world, globally, in people taking Bitcoin very seriously. So I will start with the Brazil news because this one is pretty interesting. Of course, this did happen a couple of weeks ago, and we didn't really talk about it. And I think the reason I didn't bring it up on the show is because I personally have gotten a little worn out with the idea of bills being proposed for Bitcoin. Last year in the U.S. in particular, I think every other week we were getting a new bill proposed to stack Bitcoin, to protect Bitcoiners, to protect Bitcoin mining. And it just felt like, okay, proposing a bill, like whatever, until it passes, until something significantly happens, until something actually happens, better put, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, we've heard this before. Another bill is being proposed. But I think this one is a little interesting, and I have been kind of waiting to bring this on the show because it does show that the nation-state Bitcoin adoption or Bitcoin race is going into overtime. And the fact that this is being proposed now, just that fact alone is very interesting. Again, here's the headline from Bitcoin Magazine. Brazil proposes national Bitcoin reserve, targets 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. It's literally saying the same exact thing that Senator Lummis has proposed in the Bitcoin Act. Now, again, it is just a bill proposal. So this is, nothing concrete. They didn't pass this. I don't even think it will get far enough to even get voted on. But again, the idea of another nation state saying, hey, look, this is a good idea. We also want to try to get to 1 million Bitcoin. I think that's the signal here. That is the big point. We have come a long way in the adoption, or rather maybe just the mental perspective of Bitcoin, that countries are seriously proposing stacking 1 million Bitcoin. A year ago, 2 years ago, or rather, in November of 2024, before the Trump presidential campaign, I don't think any of us would have really thought that countries would be proposing this type of legislation, trying to acquire 1 million Bitcoin. So we've gotten to the point now, yes, it's being proposed in the U.S. It probably is not going to pass. This bill in Brazil is probably just as much of a long shot to pass as it is in the U.S. But again, that's besides the point, in my opinion. I think the fact that they're proposing this seriously and not necessarily tongue-in-cheek, it's not a troll, it's not engagement, clickbait farming on Twitter. It's not just, AI Photoshop stuff. They're seriously proposing trying to stack 1 million Bitcoin. Again, probably won't pass. But this does go into what they actually did propose and what they're actually doing in Brazil. And this is why the story of nation-state Bitcoin adoption with all of these pieces is showing that it is spreading globally. There is real conversations at the highest levels talking about trying to build or in various different ways make a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think we've come a long way. Yes, this is narrative trench warfare. Yes, you might be saying, hey, I thought this was a bottom-up revolution. I thought we were separating money from state. How come Opti and the Simply Bitcoin guys are always out here cheerleading the state acquiring Bitcoin? Guys, we're a news show here. We're just covering what is happening for good and for bad. Yes, I may talk about these things, but you guys know when I come on this and I come on the show, I am usually hypercritical of any of these movements. And so we cover the headlines and then I give you my takes. Anyways, this actually did happen. I am on a sort of sketchy website, but I can confirm it is happening. It's just the other websites were just not in English. So, you know, even if I do translations, it still doesn't look as good. But anyways, Brazil is set to put to zero the import duties on, as the headline says, high efficiency Bitcoin miners. But Brazil's Foreign Trade Council set import duties at 0% for a narrow class of high efficiency Bitcoin mining servers until January 2028. Of course, other taxes may apply. So they literally dropped all import duties on SHA-256 miners. So I don't know if they understand. I don't know if the Brazil's Foreign Trade Council fully understands Bitcoin miners themselves. Maybe they use the wording, at least in Portuguese, of crypto miners, and then that's why they had to specify SHA-256. But they're basically saying the same thing. Like, Bitcoin miners do use SHA-256. So they basically dropped all import fees on Bitcoin mining computers, Bitcoin mining ASICs, which I think is a huge move. Obviously, tariffs have all been in the news. We've all been hearing what the states have been doing around tariffs. It's one of the biggest kind of topics right now, whether this is good or bad. But on the flip side, for at least Brazilians, they're like, hey, we want Bitcoin miners to be in Brazil. How can we do this? They're like, we're just literally going to drop all taxes on Bitcoin ASICs. So therefore, more Bitcoiners want to mine in Brazil. And of course, more Bitcoin capital, or more Bitcoiners with capital, more capital allocation, will get attracted to Brazil. It really goes into one of the very big theories and narratives and perspectives of Bitcoiners that, hey, where capital is treated best, that's where money flows. I would say that Brazil, this is a pretty big move. If they are trying to actively build up the amount of Bitcoin miners in Brazil, this is a pretty solid move from a game theory perspective, from an economic perspective, trying to attract Bitcoiners into your country, especially the Bitcoin miners. Solid move. I know Bitcoin mining isn't as sexy as all of the other topics that most people like to talk about, but we always got to remember, without the Bitcoin miners, we wouldn't be here. The network wouldn't be what it is. So huge move to start off here from Brazil. Yes, there was a proposition. If you guys have been following this story, yes, they did propose this a couple of months ago. I think it was the end of 2025 in December. But now they just doubled down and it's basically official. They're like, yep, this is what's going on. We want to attract Bitcoin miners into our country. So if you're trying to buy ASICs in Brazil, no import duties on it, no taxes on it. Well, other taxes may apply, but the import tax is dropped 0% on Bitcoin ASICs. Solid move. Honestly, solid move here. Now, the next story is pretty interesting as well. This I did see on Twitter earlier this week, and it's by Daniel Batten. He quote tweeted this. I do have an article here from Bitcoin Mag to kind of break this down a little bit, but he goes, Justin, Paraguay has just followed the lead of Bhutan using wasted hydro energy to mine Bitcoin for a likely national Bitcoin reserve. Reports indicate mined Bitcoin will likely be held as a state asset or the national treasury, potentially used to fund infrastructure. Now, of course, I didn't pull it up. Of course, we talked about the Bhutan story, and we haven't really brought any more updates on the Bhutan story. And maybe if you've been following along on Bhutan's national strategic Bitcoin reserve, you may have gotten a little disappointed because they have used those funds to, there's been some selling from Bhutan. They have been using those funds to build their infrastructure up, which on the one hand, from like a hardcore Bitcoin perspective, you're like, they're supposed to hodl the Bitcoin. On the other perspective of, hey, Bitcoin is money. And if you're on a, state level, you probably want to use wherever your profits are coming from so that you can actually build up the infrastructure so that your country gets better. So I think this is from in particular to Bhutan. I think that's a good move for them. Obviously, small country. They made a lot of money mining Bitcoin secretly. We only heard about this because there was, they had to report about their Celsius holdings. Then we all found out, hey, they're a Bitcoin country. Yes, they may be small, but they are mining Bitcoin on a state level, and they made a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Yes, they're using their money. But anyways, Paraguay, apparently it's following suit. Though, when you look into the specifics of this, it might not make you feel as good as, say, the Bhutan story, where they're like, hey, we're just mining Bitcoin. This one is a little trickier. It's not as black and white, but hey, Paraguay is also building a strategic Bitcoin reserve, or rather mining Bitcoin so to potentially build a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And if you've been around here on the show, or you've been following any of the Bitcoin mining companies, you know there's a lot of Bitcoin miners in Paraguay. It is one of the places right now that is looking very good to Bitcoin miners. Cheap energy, a lot of land. The government is pretty favorable around Bitcoin. But that's where we get into this story. Here's the headline from Bitcoin Mag that happened again the beginning of this week. And it goes, Paraguay exploring using seized miners for state-run Bitcoin operations. Paraguay's state utility is teaming up with Morphware to turn seized miners into the country's first government-run Bitcoin operation. So this isn't the first time we've seen this happen, but in Paraguay, it seems like it's happening. They're going to create a state-run, state-sanctioned Bitcoin mining farm so that they can, of course, mine Bitcoin. So Paraguay's state-owned electricity monopoly, the Administración Nacional de Electricidad, my Spanish sucks, guys, or ANDI, has signed a memorandum of understanding with Morphware, setting the stage for a government-led Bitcoin mining program built around thousands of seized mining machines and unused hydroelectric power. This is where, actually, let me read this more, and then I'll do kind of my pros and cons of this. So this agreement formalizes cooperation between ANDI and Morphware, positioning Morphware as a technical and advisory partner for regulated Bitcoin mining operations in Paraguay. At the center of the deal is a growing stockpile of confiscated Bitcoin miners that Paraguayan authorities have seized from illegal operations across the country. According to Morphware founder and CEO Kenzo Traubing, the government is holding Bitcoin miners that were taken from operators accused of stealing electricity or falsely registering as other types of businesses to secure lower power rates. Quote, they're literally stacked to the ceiling, describing government warehouses filled with idle machines. The pilot program will redeploy 1,500 of the seized Bitcoin miners at ANDI-controlled sites. Of course, Paraguay has become a hotspot for Bitcoin mining. Now, the probably hardcore Bitcoiners are looking at this and they're like, okay, state's going to do what state's going to do. They're going to steal hardware and then they're going to use it to profit themselves. Now, that's where my more cynical view of this kind of comes about. And it really reminds me of what we saw happen in Venezuela. Not saying Paraguay is Venezuela per se. And by that, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Paraguay is a South American country. And if you know anything about Latin American countries, there is a lot of rampant corruption from the government level. So this is where I'm kind of maybe being a little cynical, or maybe I'm being a realist or a pragmatist or whatever you want to call it. But this does, in my opinion, lead to the incentive structure of them potentially making it seem like all Bitcoin miners are having illegal mining operations, even if they do have the right paperwork. I think Paraguay, though, from what I understand and from the conversations I've had with, say Frank Holmes or Kent from SADS Mining, it seems like the Paraguayan government is very excited and adamant about becoming a Bitcoin hotspot. Obviously, a lot of hydroelectric power there that is unused. They are really trying to incentivize miners to come down there. But again, we have seen examples like this happen in the past. And again, I'm not saying Paraguay is as corrupt as Venezuela is. I'm just saying there's a chance for corruption to occur. And by that, the game theory, or maybe the attack vectors here, is obviously, now that they have a state-sanctioned mining operation that's about to deploy, Who knows what kind of shenanigans might happen once they realize how profitable it actually is for them to use basically zero energy. You know, it's state sanctioned energy, state subsidized energy. It's basically free to them, even though no such thing as free in the world. And then they go around and they just start shutting down the competition. They start stealing Bitcoin miner corporations' infrastructure. They start, confiscating more ASICs so that they can build a bigger state-run Bitcoin mining facility so that they can, of course, stack more Bitcoin. So, hey, interesting moves happening right now. Obviously, I think it's pretty safe to say that if they are going to start mining Bitcoin on a state level, that they're probably going to do something on the lines of hodling the Bitcoin that they are stacking. I mean, yes, they could, use the excess energy from their hydroelectric power plants and they, can turn that into profits and they'll sell off a lot of that Bitcoin. I think it's a pretty safe bet or, a non-zero chance that they will hodl a lot of that Bitcoin as well. So maybe on the one hand, in the first story, Brazil is trying to do a, million Bitcoin strategic reserve, but they're just trying to incentivize Bitcoin miners to come down. In Paraguay, looks like they're going to do a state-sanctioned Bitcoin mining operation, which will most likely lead to a strategic Bitcoin reserve or a nation-state bag of Bitcoin. I don't think that's too big of a stretch to say. As we're seeing around the world, the Bitcoin conversation, the promise of what Bitcoin is, the understanding that you might want to add Bitcoin to your balance sheets, whether you're an individual, corporation, or a nation state, that conversation is slowly ramping up. It is becoming a real conversation. People are taking Bitcoin very seriously, whether they like Bitcoin or not, whether they think Bitcoin is money like we do, whether they need something that is neutral money, that is not a political money. Who knows exactly what they're thinking, but we do have concrete facts here. They are building a state-sanctioned Bitcoin mining infrastructure. I'm pretty sure soon enough, once this starts going, we will see coming out of Paraguay that they are hodling that Bitcoin. They built a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And again, as Daniel Batten said in the beginning, they're following the Bhutan lead, the Bhutan playbook here. And we know what Bhutan did. They have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It might not be the biggest one. They are a small country, but hey, they're probably building one as well. Okay, now, the probably big interesting news for this morning is we officially, well, actually, it's not official per se, but we're on the verge of seeing the second central bank to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. I mean, we just heard literally earlier this week, Ray Dalio saying, I don't think central banks will ever hold Bitcoin. It's not private enough. Well, I don't know if Ray Dalio knows, but there already is a central bank that holds Bitcoin, and that is in the Czech Republic. Now we're on the verge, or rather, it's pretty much concrete set in stone that this is what they're going to do. We have the second central bank in the world saying we are going to add Bitcoin to our balance sheet. And who am I talking about? It's not a, sexy name. It's not even the biggest country out there, but it is a country. So number 2, soon enough, will be on the board, and it is Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan now says that they will diversify. The Kazakhstan central bank says they will diversify from gold and plans to invest in crypto in May. There's a lot to unpack with just this headline alone, but let me read this article a little bit coming from Yahoo Finance. So Kazakhstan's central bank has raised up to $350 million from its gold and foreign exchange, and of course is planning to buy some Bitcoin. Though this is saying plan to invest in crypto. And actually this headline from Yahoo News, and from what I did do some, rudimentary research, again, I'm using English headlines here and English journalists here to kind of paint the picture for me. They're using crypto right now. There is a debate to be had of whether when they say crypto, they mean Bitcoin and shitcoins, or when they use crypto, does it mean Bitcoin? My boy, the reigning cash maxi on Rumble, JJ, he's always like, Opti always puts Bitcoin when they say crypto. Well, unless they specifically say Bitcoin and other things, when I hear people say crypto, it usually means Bitcoin. They just, people use the term crypto to really mean Bitcoin. Then they just, in my opinion, probably don't know any better. But hey, I'm mind reading here. Anyways, the bank plans to make these investments by May. So 2 months from now, the bank's deputy chair, Aliya Moldabekova, revealed that they are also looking to invest in crypto-focused companies. Now, this is where this article does get a little confusing, and I'll bring that up later. So, Kazakhstan Central Bank is looking to invest in crypto assets as it diversifies its reserves from just gold. The bank has already raised up to $350 million from its gold and foreign exchange reserves, and it plans to invest in, quote, crypto assets. According to a Reuters report, this was on Reuters, but again, I don't have a Reuters paid account. I don't even have an account on there, and I can't use archives, so I can't confirm this is true. It's just I'm using this article so that you guys could read along with me. Again, according to the Reuters report, the central bank's governor, Timur Suleymanov, revealed that they have formed a portfolio of up to $350 million from gold and foreign exchange reserves, which they plan to use to invest in crypto assets. Quote, we are currently developing a list of instruments in which we will invest. This includes not only cryptocurrency itself. So, I mean, strange kind of framing here, but it looks like they're probably going to diversify into other things besides quote unquote crypto, or in my opinion, Bitcoin. But anyways, the governor of the Kazakhstan Central Bank suggested they would also invest in crypto stocks. He noted that the investment portfolio will include shares of high-tech companies related to crypto assets, index funds, and other instruments that exhibit similar dynamics to crypto assets. This is where this sentence, that I'm going to quote from her. This is the one that I believe. I think this is the one that is a weirdly framed. It goes, central bank's deputy chair Aliya Moldabekova stated that the investments will begin in April or May. We are not talking about any large investments in cryptocurrencies. So I don't know. It seems to kind of contradict the headline and the other governor. We are currently selecting companies that deal with digital assets, for example, those involved in cryptocurrency infrastructure, and we are currently in the process of selecting such companies. So from those two different quotes, it does sound like two different things, or like two different narratives are kind of playing out. The official, governor of the Bank of Kazakhstan, Central Bank of Kazakhstan, is like, yeah, we're going to diversify from gold into crypto assets, into not just crypto, but crypto stocks, crypto assets. So I'm guessing some shit coins. And then the deputy chair is like, yeah, well, we're actually going to invest in companies that deal with digital assets. So is that going to be like MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet, some like a Coinbase, Bitcoin mining companies, ETFs? No clear kind of details on exactly what they're going to be buying, but maybe this is just PR headlines, and watch it when this actually happens in May. It's going to be like, yeah, we bought some shitcoin ETFs or something. I don't know. We don't have much information here. But anyways, this move comes as governments warm up to crypto, with the U.S. already planning to set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It also makes a growing trend as central banks begin to adopt Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Of course, mentioning the Czech National Bank acquiring $1 million worth of Bitcoin. So they are starting small, but hey, they said it was never going to happen, and it's happening. Now, of course, Deutsche Bank last year also said central banks could adopt Bitcoin alongside gold as a reserve by 2030. And actually, one last tidbit here that I really wasn't familiar with. Again, I'm not a Bitcoin miner. I'm not totally informed in every detail around Bitcoin mining, but this was pretty interesting that Kazakhstan ranks third in Bitcoin mining, just behind the United States and China. That's pretty huge. So third largest Bitcoin mining country is now saying, yeah, we we like this Bitcoin thing. We see the profits that Bitcoin mining has brought to our country. And we, as a central bank, want to diversify into Bitcoin. So the nation state Bitcoin adoption, it is happening slowly, but it is happening. Now, I think the most interesting aspect of this headline, and it does kind of connect with the Brazil bill proposal for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, is it sounds exactly like the Senator Lummis playbook or the Senator Lummis Bitcoin Act. Of course, the Brazil strategic Bitcoin reserve bill literally uses the same verbiage. It literally says the Senator Lummis bill, the Bitcoin Act, says we want to acquire 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years. Exactly what Brazil said. Now, the second part that we've all been talking about is in terms of the quote budget neutral ways to acquire Bitcoin. And that's where this Kazakhstan news is interesting to me, not just because it's a central bank saying we want to add Bitcoin to our balance sheet, but because they literally did exactly what we were talking about yesterday with Paul and exactly what Senator Lummis says we should probably be doing with our gold. That's taking some gold profits and rolling it over into Bitcoin. In the US, it's this idea that, hey, we need to reevaluate our gold holdings. Again, the gold prices of the US's supposed Bitcoin in Fort Knox is pegged at $35, which if you are somewhat awake, you remember that gold is currently priced at somewhere around $5,000 per ounce. The US's gold is valued at $35 an ounce. So Senator Lummis has been saying, hey, we just revalue the gold. You know, that expands our balance sheet. That makes our balance sheet look good. And then we take some of that gold and we buy Bitcoin with it. Well, Kazakhstan is doing that as we speak. Minus the revaluation part. I'm guessing, are using the spot price of gold, but they're taking some of the gold profits or, the fiat gains of gold. They're going to sell a little gold. And they're going to start to diversify their central bank's portfolio into, quote, crypto assets, whatever that really means. The only real move here for them would be to acquire Bitcoin, in my opinion. I guess maybe strategy, one of these Bitcoin treasury companies might also be a semi-smart move here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an ETF. I wouldn't be surprised if they buy some shitcoin stocks or, it ends up in some shitcoins. Obviously, you guys remember we do have a supposed sovereign wealth fund in the United States with some, fine print saying that, yeah, we could buy some shitcoins if we wanted to. So again, the ideas though, it's something I've been saying on the show for the last couple of weeks when I've become very critical of what Donald Trump has been doing. It's that, again, love or hate the guy, he has totally started the nation state Bitcoin race domino. It's fallen. It is, you can't put that back in the bag. Now, whether you think the Trump administration is serious about buying Bitcoin, whether they will buy Bitcoin, whether they are currently silently buying Bitcoin, the conversation is happening. And again, out of the deal, Trump just mega brain, giga brain level, deal making. He's been doing this forever. So you plant the idea, maybe it's an extreme idea, then you come back and you basically compromise and you get what you initially wanted. It's really Hegelian dialectics, but just in a, deal-making capacity. Well, we're seeing it play out. Everyone is taking Trump's word that they want to stack 1 million Bitcoin or, whatever, however much Bitcoin, that they really want to buy Bitcoin in whatever capacity they can so that the taxpayers don't have to, foot the bill. And they're taking that threat seriously. Whether it's a threat or not, you could argue whichever way you want. But they're taking the idea of stacking Bitcoin seriously. And now we're seeing globally, other countries are like, yeah, we are not going to get left behind. We are going to, at the very least, adopt to the new landscape here and take this Bitcoin idea seriously. So it's happening. Totally happening, which is where I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. again, when I've become probably a little more disillusioned with politics, the last year for a little bit, it's like, oh, politics is all the rage. Let me try to sharpen my political chops here, because again, maybe it's because I'm getting older, maybe it's because it's what's all in the headlines, Bitcoin and politics. But Trump has definitely, at the very least, started the idea of Bitcoin, and I think that is a great idea. I know we're the show of separation, money, and state, but if any country is going to compete in the 21st century, they need to embrace Bitcoin. The idea of countries embracing Bitcoin, I think, is a very good idea. Not just for me as a bag holder, not someone, actually, I don't own Bitcoin, right? Not just for us that are Bitcoin enthusiasts, but because if you are not first in this game, you are going to be last. And if you know anything about the science of money, about how money works, where it is treated best, it will flow. And we're seeing there is a lot of economic troubles around the world. So if you really want to have a leg up amongst your competition, against your competition, it's in your best interest to embrace Bitcoin. I truly believe that the more that politicians fight Bitcoin, the harder it is for them to maintain their position of power. Now, I know we're a little early in this game, but I think for the next decade, at least, obviously going further, it will be, can I say the word, the S word? It will be a political detriment to your rise in power if you are fighting Bitcoin. Again, it is early. I think we are still the vocal minority amongst the population that are pro Bitcoin, and even further, the ones that are one issue voters around Bitcoin. It's like, what's your Bitcoin stance? Then I like you. I think we're still early in that game, but there is coming a time very soon where if you fight Bitcoin, you're literally actively fighting against the best interests of the people. Now, that probably brings another can of worms here of whether politicians actually care about what the people think. But if they do, if they want to keep that myth alive, keep that narrative alive, they're going to have to embrace Bitcoin. So, look, we're seeing it happen. It's happening in real time, guys. It's not just us doing clickbait. It's not just us, as my boy Down Under Blues was saying, being propagandists about Bitcoin. It is happening. There is a fundamental shift in people's perspective of Bitcoin. It is slow. They have to go through their paces. They have to actually understand what this Bitcoin thing is. But it is happening. They're taking the idea of Bitcoin seriously. So in the face of all of the, I don't know, the doomer Bitcoin takes, the demoralization around Bitcoin, one thing is true. They're having conversations about Bitcoin at the highest level. Hold on, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Felt like I got a hair in my throat. It's happening, okay? So, hey, maybe who knows where this bear market ends, but they're taking, and they is the mythical they, whoever's in power, the governments around the world, the politicians around the world. They have to take this idea, the institutions around the world, better put, are having to take Bitcoin semi-seriously. Whether they believe in it or not, it's besides the point. They have to seriously consider Bitcoin in some capacity. So we've come a long way. It's not perfect. It's never perfect. I'm always up here saying, yeah, I wish it was better, but at least it's kind of happening. I think it's only going to increase. Okay, guys. Well, I'll see if I can get it. Oops. I forgot to upload my video for you guys today, guys. Okay, whatever. I saw an interesting clip from Tucker Carlson. Again, you know me, I'm not the biggest Tucker Carlson fan, but he is a huge platform. And he did this interesting new video. I haven't fully watched it, but you get enough from the trailer. And he's calling it the Great Gold Scam. Interesting video here. And since we're a Bitcoin show, we have this love-hate relationship with gold. well, not necessarily with gold, but with the gold promoters like Peter Schiff. And then in the news, I do have another update on the Clarity Act. I actually found this tracker on the Iran war that I think is very interesting. It brings up a lot of ideas of the money printers coming back on. And I know I said I might have a meme review for you guys, but I didn't find any good memes, guys. So I got some hopium for the end of the show, all right? So you're going to want to stick around. On that note, I'll be right back after our first commercial break.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
All righty then, guys. Let's see. All right, I'm trying to upload the video for you guys behind the scenes, so hopefully it uploads quick enough. The current Bitcoin price is $68,340 per Bitcoin. The discount from all-time high is 45.8%. The market cap, we're back in the threes, bro. I don't know why the 1.3 trillion just makes me feel so sad. Every time I see it, it makes me feel sad. Anyways, the market cap is 1.37 trillion, and the block height is 939,615, 6.15. 939, 6.15 is the block height. Okay, let me see. Am I close? Not really. Okay, whatever. We'll have to go the OG way. So, I saw this clip. Again, I'm not the biggest Tucker Carlson fan personally. He's a great broadcaster. I do respect him as a broadcaster. 100%. I respect him as a broadcaster. I'm not the biggest fan of his. Maybe it's because, I don't know. I don't know about him. Okay. Something about him feels fishy to me, but that's besides the point. He just did this video. It just came out yesterday. It's called The Great Gold Scam. And here's the tweet, and it goes, "People you thought you trusted are partnering with bad actors in the gold industry to scam you." And I saw this from Mike Germano. So shout out Mike Germano, now at PubKey, formerly at Bitcoin Magazine. He goes, "Tucker Carlson exposed the huge margins behind gold dealers and how those profits fund conservative media personalities. This will paralyze gold advertising, and normies will look for new alternative assets with transparency, making a massive opening for Bitcoin exchange advertising." So super interesting. Okay, it uploaded. I wasn't filibustering for it to upload. I really wasn't. Okay. And so this is how I saw, this is what it brought to my attention. And then I watched the trailer. I will actually watch this episode so I can fully, understand the mechanisms, but you get enough from the trailer. And you know, I am going to bring this back home for me. So here's the clip, and then I will chat a little bit about it.
The gold industry bankrolls a lot of conservative media. Much of the gold IRA business is not actually about selling gold at all. It's about selling massively marked up coins to people who trust the voices delivering the pitch.
Why is gold a hedge?
I've decided to partner with the top-rated precious metals company,
American Hartford Gold.
But it's the fine print that matters. And what the average person listening doesn't know is how much these pitchmen are getting paid to tell you that.
The companies have the exclusive control over these coins. They can manipulate the price of the coins at any time.
So then the question is, how can a gold company afford to pay a pitchman millions of dollars when it's gold? It's a commodity. Its price is set in the international market.
I bought about $186,000 worth of gold and silver.
$400,000 left in my 401k.
The price was so high, exorbitantly high.
How do they have margin that big to pay millions to sell their product?
And that's when I realized something was terribly wrong.
That's the dark side of it.
What he said was, these coins might be the best opportunity for me because you don't get as much of a loss, and they tend to really accelerate when the market goes up, which obviously sounds too good to be true.
We know this is happening because we talk to people who work inside these companies.
The reality is there is no regulation. It's like putting a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound.
And then we talk to people who lost their savings with these companies.
They were pumping this company and I trusted them.
And what we found is truly cynical. Trust in media is weaponized.
They said 34%. There is no way I heard 34%. I heard 4%.
Commissions are so extreme that Americans losing their savings even as the price of gold rises. Why? Because they bought it for so much more than it's actually worth that they can't redeem it.
It's so crushing.
The great gold scam. What's happening is widespread, it's legal, and almost nobody is talking about it. We are. Watch it now at Tucker Carlson.
All right, you can go watch the whole video. I will actually probably watch this one, just so you know I can understand it. Obviously, we're in media. We have advertisers as well, though we're Bitcoiners and not gold bug shills. That's probably the stark contrast here. But I can tell you up front, you know, full disclosure, full transparency, you know, with our partners, they pay us to advertise you Bitcoin products. You guys know the products. Some of you love most of them. Some of you don't love some of them. But for the most part, all of our partners are basically ways for you to either secure or use your Bitcoin in a better, more safe way. That's kind of our ethos here. But I have wondered, and I've seen, I don't know if you guys watch, you know, conservative content or, you know, other talking head political content, but I did always wonder, like, and some of my favorite content creators, you know me, like, whether you love the guy or not, like Alex Jones is the GOAT. You know, he's one of the greats at content, at least from our quote unquote conspiracy sided, you know, alley of the internet. And I would watch him every once in a while. And this is not to, you know, take shots at Uncle Alex here, you know, like without him, we probably wouldn't be here. You know, we jokingly call Nico Jones because he loses his shit like Alex Jones. But this is the only one that I can really remember me watching that I watch occasionally or more than just occasionally. And I always wonder why they shilled these gold products. So I'm very interested in actually watching this so I can kind of break down the mechanics of this. But from just that short trailer, it seems, you know, like the scam is pretty. Now, maybe scam is a little harsh per se. You know, that's how they get people to click it. That's what got my attention. Is you know, they sell you these coins. They are sold with a premium, and you have to buy a lot of them. So you're buying a chunk at a time, and it's got a premium. But when you actually sell to redeem the gold in dollars, when you actually need it, that whole premium vanishes and you're barely making above market, if not less than market price, which, you know, in Bitcoin doesn't happen at all. It's like if you buy Bitcoin from an exchange, yes, there's sometimes a float. Yes, there's a little discrepancy from when you buy the Bitcoin at whatever price to what you receive, you know, fees, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, as the meme goes, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. I know I fight with you guys in the chat about this sometimes. I'm like, our self-referential value, it really means nothing to just the average person. I know it means something to us, but for an average person, they're like, what the hell does 1 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin equal 1 Bitcoin mean? That means nothing to me. And that's why I usually battle you guys. You guys are always like, you guys are fiat maxis. I thought you're Bitcoiners, but you price Bitcoin in dollars. And I'm like, what else do you price things in? Like jars of mayo? Like, what are we talking about here? Yes, I get 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. It's a good meme. But in reality, in practicality, in the real world, that means nothing to most people. I get it. $1 equals $1. Sure. But what dollar are we talking about in 1 year? In what year? In terms of purchasing power, because that's totally different. But apparently, yeah, anyway, I digress. But if you do watch political content, you do see a lot of people shilling gold, silver. And so again, I'm very interested in watching this one, but from what I gather from this, it does seem a little nefarious. Yes, you guys yell at us for the ads. I get it, but we're running a business. We're running a media business, and everything everyone we partner with is basically a way for you guys to secure your Bitcoin or use your Bitcoin so that you guys can stack more Bitcoin. That's what it's all about. Like, we don't, there's no fine print with us. It's just, hey, we like these Bitcoin products. We use these Bitcoin products. We think you should use them too. It seems like there is a little more nefarious incentive structure coming from a lot of these talking head shows in regards to their gold contracts. And like Mike was saying, Mike Germano, it really makes you wonder why a lot of these political pundits are really anti-Bitcoin. When if they do believe in populism, if they do believe in the, we the people, government by the people for the people, you think they would start talking about Bitcoin more favorably. Maybe now we know at least one of the root causes. They might have an incentive to just shill gold because they make more money doing that. Like, really, there's not that much money in Bitcoin. As you know, it's very hard to have a profitable business in Bitcoin. It's not that much profits in telling people, hey, dude, you don't even need me. Just stack Bitcoin, take it into self-custody, and repeat the process. Like, there's not that much money in telling people to do that. That's why a lot of people pivot from Bitcoin into shitcoins, because you can make a lot of money shilling garbage to people, because they either get, a part of the pre-mine coin, or, they make some money off of every trade you do. And so they're incentivized to keep you on the hamster wheel. In reality, what we're doing here is I'm literally like, I'm working my way out of a job here, because once you understand, hey, all I need to do is buy Bitcoin, take it into self-custody, you literally don't need to come back. I've said that so many times on this show. I'm like, look, come hang out with us at Simply Bitcoin. Once you become a Bitcoiner, once you understand that basic process of I need to constantly be buying Bitcoin and securing that Bitcoin, it's like, you don't have to watch us ever again if you don't like us. Once you get the message, bro, hang up the phone. But with that being said, I do appreciate the fact that you guys love hanging out with us, that you guys chill with me every single day. I say it all the time, and I mean it. Like, I love you guys. I really appreciate the guys that hang out with you. I appreciate the guys that criticize us, because I take it in. I try to make this show better for you guys. But it is very interesting to know that there might be a little more of a nefarious incentive structure for a lot of these big talking heads, big podcasters, to be shilling gold. As the saying always goes, follow the money. Maybe that's why a lot of people aren't talking about Bitcoin. It's not that profitable to be like, just fucking buy Bitcoin and store the Bitcoin. It's really not that hard. So looks like we have a lot of uphill battles here as Bitcoiners to try to get more Bitcoin into the hands of people. And some of the people we might like might knowingly or unknowingly be part of the problem and slowing down Bitcoin adoption. That might be a bit of a stretch. I do like some of the people that, and maybe not some of the people that were shown in that clip, but I do like some people that do have gold sponsors on this show. But now I'm like, all right, I guess I have to watch this Tucker Carlson video here, but I'll get back to you if there's anything more than what we just heard in that little trailer. Anyways, I do want to talk about a recent update on the Clarity Act. The short of it, same place we were before. Nothing's really, dude, nothing ever happens, bros. Fell for it again award. Nothing ever happens award. I got to update you. But I did find, or actually shouts to the TFTC, they did find an interesting war tracker that we'll kind of talk about. Now, I think I will kind of talk about how this might relate to Bitcoin per se, how it relates to liquidity, what the Fed might do. So with that being said, I will be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
Hey guys, I'm feeling the love in the chat. I love you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get into a couple of news stories. The first one, I am gonna read my girl. She's not my girl. I don't know. I've never met her. Okay, I've never met her. All right, let's not start any more rumors here. But I really do like her recent coverage. I think she's been doing a really good job. That's why I keep bringing her up on the show. I highly recommend you guys follow her. It is, of course, Eleanor Terrett. She works for Crypto America. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself constantly about where she works. Anyways, here's the recent update. This did come out yesterday night. So if you care about the Clarity Act, if you think it's going to do any good, if you are black-pilled like me about it and you're just like, whatever, let's just get on with it at this point. Either it fails or I guess something passes. Let's just like move on from this whole conversation. But again, I'm here to keep you updated on all of the different workings happening right now. So here's Eleanor's tweet. She goes, a pulse check on crypto market structure from a handful of conversations with industry sources today. So hot off the press, well, hot off of last night's. It's day old stale croissants. Okay, so yesterday. Okay, goes first on yield. The ball appears to be in Senator Tom Tillis's court. The North Carolina Republican was shaping up to be a holdout in January when the banking GOP committee was preparing for a markup. Amendments from Tillis and Senator also Brooks that restricted the scope of stablecoin rewards issued by crypto firms were later cited by Coinbase as one of the several reasons it withdrew support of the bill. We did later hear that Coinbase, Brian Armstrong said, hey, there is some compromise. We're coming to the table. And this is kind of what she relays here later on in this tweet. She goes, now the White House has shared legislative text, quote, the result of the past month negotiation, the result of the past month's negotiation with crypto and banks with Tillis's office, which has been meeting with industry and White House reps in recent days, with talks described as, quote, moving in the right direction. Heard that before. Anyways, this tracks with my earlier reporting that there may never be a, quote, eureka moment where crypto and the banks reach full agreement and ride off into the sunset. Instead, it looks like language is being drafted around the minimum both sides can tolerate, with the ultimate goal of quickly getting something back to the banking committee to get the ball rolling again. So from this, it goes into what I was kind of saying about compromise. It's the common compromise meme is like if both negotiators leave the table kind of unhappy, then it's probably a good compromise. It seems like maybe that's where we are. So I would say that is probably healthy. We'll see what actually happens. Anyways, finishing up this tweet, per Digital Chamber CEO Cody Carbone, quote, Senator Tillis has been very receptive to our discussions about stablecoin yield. I'm optimistic we will find a way to get to a, quote, yes vote on the bill, and we appreciate his work to try to advance market structure rules of the road. To wrap this up, she goes, even if no Democrats vote yes on the Clarity Act during the next banking committee markup, it could still pass along party lines, but Tillis's vote will be crucial if there's no Democratic, quote, buy-in. Meanwhile, other industry stakeholders focus on different parts of the bill tell me the yield issue has, quote, taken a lot of oxygen out of the room, leaving other sticking points mostly around DeFi out to pasture. Of course, there's this whole conversation about ethics and morals in DeFi. She says here, ethic concerns will likely also remain top of mind for some of the Dem members. Anyways, to end this, she goes, one crypto trade exec said they're now considering alternatives if a Senate banking markup slips further into the calendar year, but remains cautiously optimistic that the next 3 weeks will produce enough progress on yield/rewards and other issues for the banking committee to reschedule a markup in late March. Okay. So, like I said, to start this, the cynical fields, the pessimistic fields view is, dude, nothing ever happens. Like, I'm not really convinced this is going to come out good and favorable for us, but it does seem like they are on the end of March timeline. At least that's kind of holding up. Of course, we covered it earlier in the week. Trump did put his hat in the ring and said, hey, the banks need to compromise. They need to kind of step back and let this Clarity Act pass because we are very serious about America becoming the crypto capital of the world. So maybe the pressure from Trump is kind of, a little pushback on the banks, and they're like, okay, shit, like we have to pass something. Again, that's the kind of concern. We have to pass something. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but they want to at least have the political win, in my opinion, of them passing something. Again, midterms are coming up. A lot of votes came for the, quote, crypto lobby from the crypto enthusiasts. Of course, that was one of Trump's kind of campaign promises. So I think they want to get a political win, like a narrative political win here, and get something passed. Again, maybe nothing is better than something, but it seems like they do want to get something passed by the end of March. Now, this is where the timeline does get interesting, okay? Which is, if they don't get something passed by March, again, they're going to do this markup bill. Apparently, they're going to reschedule at some point towards the end of March. But if they don't get this passed by March, it does feel like they're just going to continue to kick the can down the road. And if you know anything about politics, basically after June, like this year's session is all but over. Like, in June, the politicians basically take a break and then they come back for a very short period. I believe it's about 3 weeks towards the end of the year. Add on top of that, it is going to be the midterms. So probably nothing's going to happen from a federal level perspective. So the timeline is getting tight here. What? It's March. We got April, May, June, maybe 3 months here. Maybe 2 months if this doesn't pass in March. And we know how slow the machine moves. So the timeline is getting tight, guys. If this doesn't pass within the next 3 months, like we don't have till the end of 2026 to get this passed. We once the midterms start to happen, as we've kind of been covering, it doesn't seem like the Democrats are that favorable towards anything Bitcoin at this point. Yes, it's not a monolithic, entity. There's some pro Bitcoin Democrats. But from the rate that things are going for the Trump administration, it does seem like Trump is most likely going to lose the House, or rather the Republicans are probably not going to maintain the, majority in the House. And if the Democrats get in, I doubt anything's going to happen from 2026 onwards until 2028. So there's about 3 months to get this passed. We'll see if there's a significant breakthrough in the next couple of weeks before the end of March. But again, if this doesn't pass, or the markup bill doesn't even get approved by end of March, I don't see this passing after June. So that's the timeline here, guys. If nothing happens by June, I think, another Opti's Vindicated award here. I don't think anything's going to happen. So again, maybe pessimistic, maybe cynical. It is what it is. All right, I do want to bring up one little thing here before I give you guys some hopium at the end of the show. But TFTC posted this, and I had to search for the actual website. The website is iran-cost-ticker.com, and it is the cost for the Iran war since Saturday. So we're on day 6 of the war, and it's cost the U.S. about $6.6 billion so far. So it seems like they're burning through about $1 billion per day. Now, why is this important? What's the implications here? Rather, is actually, let's see. Let me go on. So they're spending $11.5 thousand per second. 41.666 million per hour, and about $1 billion per day. So $1 billion per day for Operation Epic Fury, which is not a war. It's just an operation because legally they can't call it a war because there's some hot water around the fact that Congress didn't approve a war, and now they're doing they're trying to limit Trump's power over there. But legally, it's an operation. It's not a war, though. It is starting to look like it's going to be a prolonged war. It seems like I have friends, one of my buddies, he's Iranian, and he's like, trust me, it's not going to be a forever war. And I really want to believe him. I liked his perspective. But when you listen to what the Trump, sorry, I didn't pull it up, guys. When you listen to what the Trump administration has been saying since the start of this operation, it really feels like they have no effing plan here. It feels, I think they initially thought this was going to be a Venezuela scenario where they would get in, Friday night, it would be done by Monday before the markets close. And then Monday rolled around and they're like, oh, this might be 4 or 5 days. And we're like, okay, whatever. Then it went to 2 to 4 weeks, and everyone's like, oh, okay, 2 weeks to stop the spread. I think I've heard this before. And then they went to 4 or 5 months. And then the latest thing we've heard is it's going to be a 100-day war, and probably at minimum going to last until September. So if they continue to spend $1 billion a day, and this lasts till September, a 100-day war, then I guess it's pretty safe to say that at minimum, they will spend about $100 billion for this operation in the Middle East. Now, what is Lol, if you think that, I think they have a plan, bro. I just don't think it's going as they planned it, is what I'm saying. Based on their rhetoric, it seems like every other day they're changing what is happening, and it's almost like they're trying to get a narrative that sticks. Is all I'm kind of saying. Obviously, I think they had a plan. But anyways, I digress. So again, if we take the latest numbers that were given to us yesterday about, or maybe it might have been 2 days ago. No, it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. About we're probably going to be in Iran for a 100-day war. So they're probably going to spend about $100 billion on this operation. Minimum. Or so it seems. And then I don't know if you guys saw this morning, but Trump did just tweet this morning that they have no plans of pulling out. And the only thing they are looking for is like here, actually, let me pull it up so I won't butcher it. You guys know I suck at quoting things. I butcher things all the time. But on Truth Social this morning, Trump did tweet about the war. Latest update, hot off the press. Let me see. I think should have it right here. Oh, I guess I don't have it right here. Let me pull it up real quick. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Let's go here. So here we are. I'm on Truth Social. And here is the latest update, which happened this morning. Dude, Truth Social is kind of ass, right? Sorry, I thought that said Michelle Weekly. I'm like, what's what? All right, anyway. All right. Sorry, don't blame me. This is Truth Social just being ass. Tweet so much. Where was it? Did I scroll past it? No, I think it's right here. Sorry, guys. I should have had this up, but I didn't think I was going to cover it. Honestly, I thought I'd remember it better. Here we go. 5 hours ago, latest update. Donald Trump says there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. Miga, yo, crap. Hey, yo, chill, bro. Hey, yo, chill. Okay. Anyways, so why am I bringing this up, really? Obviously, the meme, fiat is the money of war. They where do they get the money? Wars cost money. Where do they get the money? They print the money out of thin air. That's where the money comes from. It's not like we have a war chest that, that runs out when we run out of money and the war is over. What did he say again? Unconditional surrender. Sorry. And so anyways, the reason I'm bringing this up today is because I think the implications here in regards to Bitcoin are very interesting. Again, if you read between the lines, a lot of things are pointing to the money printer is going to turn on. Not only are we going to go into the midterms, and there is this idea circulating that they're going to basically buy off the voters because Trump has the lowest, polling right now than ever before. So people are not that happy with what he's doing, though the polls from the Republican side of, going to war is very, very favorably. I think it's up to like 80%. So most Republicans are okay with going to war. Trump's overall ratings is the lowest he's ever been. Anyways, I think it's pretty safe to say that the money printer is turning on in a big, big way. And I don't want to be like the normie political pundit here and be like, oh, Iran war is just Iraq war 2.0. That's not what I'm saying here. But historically, when the government gets into trouble, they usually find an excuse to go to war so that they can turn on the money printer and they'll blame the war. If this is a prolonged operation, 100 days plus, the money printer is going to turn on, okay? You want to protect yourself. You need to save in something that they cannot debase. Obviously, we are Bitcoin advocates here. This is a Bitcoin show. I think you need to buy Bitcoin. It looks like the liquidity is going to expand. It looks like they're going to print a lot of money, whether that's for this war or whether that's to buy off votes for the midterm. The money printer is all but secured. It is turning on. Remember, we are no longer in QT. We are in not QE. So it's building. It's going to happen. They haven't turned it on yet, but it's definitely warming up. You know, it's like my old truck. You know, you got to turn it on, let it warm up for a little bit so you don't mess up the car anymore. I think that's where we are right now. Okay. That's my simply politics for you guys today. It goes back to the same thing. They're going to turn on the money printer. The money printer is coming back on. Now, you guys could, call me a boomer, whatever you want. You can call me a normie. But again, we talk about topics, cultural, political, usually economically, usually with a Bitcoin bet. And that's what I'm seeing when I'm reading this stuff. When you see the Iran cost tracker, when you see only unconditional surrender, the war seems to be spreading out. The timeline seems to be extending. Just knowing a little bit of history, when we go into war, you print money. Usually, you could argue what the reasons are for the war. But a lot of times when the economy is not doing so hot, you start a war so that you can, inject a lot of money, print a lot of money, and get the GDP up. Anyways, I don't see the money yet either. I think it's just warming up, bro. I think fiat never runs out. Exactly. All right, guys. I will wrap up today's show with a little bit of hopium. You guys know I've become a Wickoff Maxi. Barely know what that means. But hey, I like a little hopium. And I did cover it on the show before, and I thought my models or I guess it's TA. I know I said TA, it doesn't work, but I'm gonna make the case that maybe the Wickoff accumulation is still in play. Oh wait, actually, before I go, I do have to give a huge shout out to our boys over at Bitcoin Magazine. Shouts out to Nick Can't Mine. I know he doesn't own the company, but that's my boy. We will be at Bitcoin 2026 in Las Vegas, April 27th through the 29th at the Venetian in Las Vegas, taking over Las Vegas again. I believe, if I remember correctly, this might be the last year in Vegas. It might be one more year, but I'm almost positive that this is going to be the last year in Vegas. So if you want to see Bitcoiners take over Las Vegas, make sure you get your tickets today. If you use the promo code Simply, you will get 10% off. Of course, get your tickets now before you start FOMOing at the last minute and tickets are more expensive. Take it now, and you never know. Maybe you could get some more sats for it later. All right, guys. I'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com.
All righty then, guys. So before you yell at me, because yesterday I did, play that Druckenmiller video of him saying TA's ass and it doesn't work anymore. Wait, I forgot. This is a family-friendly show. That TA is astrology for men, and your magic lines on the chart don't mean anything. I know I said that yesterday. Okay. I know. I'm acknowledging the fact that I said that yesterday. Okay. And this is Friday, but let's see. I triggered some people over the Iran war stuff. My bad, Deep Stink. Let me see. Hold on, Abil. Dude, I'm left side of the bell curve, bro. Come on. Dude, water is wet. Come on, okay? Anyway, I'm fighting in the chat. Okay, this tweet. So I actually found this tweet after I was looking at the. Actually, here let's start with the chart. No, we'll start here. I don't know. This guy is some shit corner. I'm guessing he's a TA. he's a TA guru. Let's go. Wow, I'm cooking myself. Anyways, making the case here because Wickoff died in 1934. But his map is drawn on this chart right now. He's saying every green box, every red box, the same pattern repeating for 5 years across every cycle Bitcoin has ever had. Whatever. You can make the case that he's wrong. I know some Bitcoiners that I like and respect that were making. Oh no, was that what's the wave one? Elliott Wave. Okay, no, sorry, they were Elliott Wave Maxis. If you know, you know. Anyways, you guys, this is not a coincidence. It's happening right now. Remember, I did bring this up a couple of times the last couple of weeks. I'm like, maybe it's happening. Like, you guys want some hopium here. This Wickoff accumulation seems to maybe be playing out. That's why I'm like, I'm a Wickoff accumulation maxi right now because I need the hopium. All right. I just don't want Nico to be right and it goes into the 40Ks. I want to be like, see, hey, look, you were right. 126 at the top, but you were wrong. So I could be like, you were wrong about it going to 40K. I told you it's going to go up. It's going to go sideways. It's going to go up again. Okay. So this is really for me. I'm holding myself accountable here, but really I'm trying to hold Nico accountable. And really, I just want him to be wrong. Okay. I just want him to be so effing wrong. So you could take that smug look off his face. I'm just trolling. All right. Anyways, here's the real question. Now, the question every trader or all of us need to ask ourselves is, are we seeing an accumulation phase and then we'll see a next leg up, or are we seeing a redistribution phase and we're going to see another leg down, or this a dead cat bounce? And I think that's kind of the debate. Actually, I do want to bring this meme up. I finally found the meme that I was telling you guys about, and this is literally Nico and I on the show constantly. Dude, I knew I should have saved this, bro. I am all over the place today. My bad, guys. But there's this meme. It's a perception is everything, and it is of a guy watching a lion documentary and a guy wow, dude, is this better not be up? These Twitter searches are these Twitter searches are crazy. Okay, I can't find it. I'm glad that okay, I'm glad this is not on the screen. This is crazy. All right, anyways, you're just you're just gonna have to take here's my meme review for the day, okay? There's this meme. And it is a picture of a lion attacking an antelope. On the left, it says lion documentary, and it's a guy like, yeah, when the lion is, attacking the antelope. And then on the flip side is the same exact picture, but on the top it says antelope documentary, and the guy's like, oh no. And I think that's why I wanted to bring this up today, because this is what you're seeing on the show. I'm kind of on the view of like, it looks like we might be doing, an accumulation phase and we're going to go higher. Nico's like, it looks like we're probably going to go lower. We're doing a redistribution phase, therefore going lower. And then he goes, whatever. The pattern is always the same because human behavior is always the same. From 1934 to 2026, fear and greed do not change. That's kind of, I think, the bigger idea here is I don't really think our lines on the chart mean anything. Like TA, I think, is kind of ass. You could say that this is TA. But that idea, like human psychology hasn't changed. And say what? Whatever your human history book that you believe in tells you, whether we've been around for hundreds of thousands of years or whether it's 6,000, humans haven't changed. Like, yes, our bodies might become a little more advanced, but our brains pretty much haven't changed. Anyways, why am I saying all this? This is where the hopium comes in. All right, I'm gonna flip back and forth on a few things here. So this is what you're seeing here. Actually, let me go back. So, it's saying this chart is saying it's redistribution, but this reaccumulation phase thing, or rather maybe this one here, after kind of a blow off top, accumulation, big money loads up quietly. This is kind of the pattern, that you'll see on the chart, but this is like the official view of it from a Wickoff accumulation perspective. It'll hit a point, bounce up again, it'll drop down, it'll go a little higher, but not as high. It'll come back down, but not as low. And then it goes back up to where it started. And then it comes back down a little lower. And then it does sideways, a spring, a test, yada, yada, yada. Why am I bringing this up? Because, guys, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's looking here. Let me take these off. It's looking like we might be seeing exactly that happen. So here's my hopium for the day. I'll put these charts so you can, I guess, see the little while. These lines here, these boxes, that has nothing to do with the Wickoff accumulation, pattern, but it gives you a little better framework here. So, again, it's reality, so it's not as perfect as the form of a Wickoff accumulation. But comes down to a deep level. Again, here we go. It comes down and then it pops back up a little bit, come back up, pops back up a little bit. Notice its height. And then, it does a little squiggly and then it shoots back up again. Comes up a little squiggly, shoots back up again, and then it comes back down. This is TA. This is what you get. This is what you pay for in my paid TA group here. It comes up, comes back down. Anyways, and then there's a spring, which we didn't really see a spring, but we did see it kind of go lower. Didn't go this low, but it's lower than all these other ones. Anyways, the reason I'm starting to be even more of a Wickoff believer is because the implications. It's this SOS line where we finally get a breakout. And I'm, I don't know. We might be going lower. This could be a sucker's rally. It could be the breakout. This part is looking, at least to me, again, TA is looking at the same chart with a different perspective. Honestly, it feels like maybe this is where we are. So breakout above this initial kind of point, and then it corrects. So if we see here, let me do this. Dang. Oh, here we go. If we see something like, whoa, what's going on here? What color is this? Dude, I'm so blind. Okay. If we wait. Let me do that again. Oh, wait. Okay. So if we see something like boom, boom, up, I don't know if it'd be that high, but you dude, my lines are so good. Okay. That's so ugly. That's crazy. All right, let me do it one more time. This is fun. All right, I'm having fun. I don't care if you guys are. I'm having fun right here. Okay. All right. So if we see something like, pop up, boom, up here to there, kind of, whatever. That one looks a little better. I don't know, man. Am I smoking the hopium? Or are we smoking the hopium together? You literally not making any sense? I don't know. I thought I made some sense there. Trader tards, true. All right, well, can you draw the Opti Wickoff line? It's white. Whatever, dude. As you can tell, I'm not a... Dude, I'm so colorblind, guys. All right, whatever, dude, whatever. It's Friday. The TLDR is... We might be seeing a little bit of volatility up in this, what range? In the about 74 to 68 range. So if we kind of do a little, wait. I mean, how do I do it backwards? Wait, no, the other way. A little boom, boop, come back up. Something like that. So for the next few days, basically the short of it is we might be seeing a little volatility in the next few days, but I think probably by this time next week, we might, like all I'm saying, guys, is we might be out of the woods is what I'm hoping. It's not just what I'm saying, it's what I'm hoping. So we are in this together. We are drinking the orange Kool-Aid. We are smoking the pure hydro opium. It's a family show. It's a family show. All right. What catalyst do you foresee? What catalyst do you forecast for us getting to your projections? Just, buying. It's really all the institutional buying that we're seeing. You guys stacking. I think the general uncertainty of what's going on in the geopolitical macro markets. I think watching what is happening in the broader markets, not just Bitcoin, is, I know you guys don't like to do that, but it's something we should be doing. Like if you're watching stocks and gold and silver right now, you are, at least all of this week, you're starting to see that potentially they are pricing in what a quote unquote forever war might mean. And again, if you're looking at S&P 500, QQQ, Dow, they're looking pretty toppy. They've been crashing. I think they are finally pricing in what a prolonged war in the Middle East actually means. Not looking too good. Hence, they might be looking for an escape to safety. Bitcoin neutral scarce money, which we're seeing the Iranians do, or rather, sorry, my friend told me they're called Persians. What we're seeing the Persians do currently by buying a lot of Bitcoin in Iran and taking it off the exchanges. It could, actually, I think I brought this up on the show, and this is where I'll end it. I'm filibustering. I'm rambling. Me and Sophie were kind of trolling on Monday when we saw Bitcoin kind of pump instead of dump on that Monday market open. We were like, wait, is World War III actually good for Bitcoin? Like, whoa. Okay, that kind of flips all of our narratives on its head. You'd expect Bitcoin being the most liquid 24/7 thing to trade, that it would trade very badly when there's bad news. But for the first time when we've had bad news, Bitcoin's actually reacted pretty good. And then when you look at since Saturday morning of last week, Bitcoin's been performing better than gold and the S&P 500, just kind of the general metrics of where people are putting their money. I don't know. It does seem like Bitcoin is acting very strong, very, very resilient when you'd kind of expect it to dump, which really goes into more of like the trolling of it, where it's the idea of like, we've already dumped so hard. Who's dumping Bitcoin right now? We're stacking, bro. We are stacking. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Gold down 5% on the week. Price in Bitcoin. Let's go. That signal. That is the signal. By 2020, I have to be straight strike. Lol. Okay. All right, guys. Anyways, you guys are tuning out. So I've rambled enough for you guys today. I will be back on Monday, of course, roughly around 12:40 p.m. I know I posted the show at 12:16. Come at give me like a 5 minutes. Come at 12:35, just so I see that there's people here, so I don't have to panic about, dang, I didn't get people to want to watch the show. I feel bad about myself. No, dude, that is blasphemous. I do not condone that. I do not condone that. Anyway. All right, guys, I love you. Have a good weekend. Eat some good food. Get your 10K steps in if you can. If it's not freezing where you are right now, if it's nice, just get a walk in, eat some good food, stack some sats, call your loved ones, all that good stuff. I'll see you on Monday, guys. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a good weekend. We'll be back at it next week. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.